Okay, so here we go. So what I've been doing, is, so I harvested, this is the Japanese indigo. There's all kinds of different indigo, and this is a Japanese indigo, persicaria, tinctoria. And I'm growing another kind in my plot that's a tropical indigo that is more indigenous to the Americas. So it was grown more in Central and South America and then brought to North America. So I'm growing that in my plot, but this is a Japanese version. So, and the way you process, like the way that I process this, it's the same for both kinds. And this is a pigment extraction process, and this is what we're trying to get to here. Is turns into a paste. I know. Okay. So this is the this is the paste, and so that's where I'm trying to get to. So this is what's in here is going to end up like this, and a lot of people will dry this into a powder, but then you have to rehydrate it for the dye process. So I just skip that and leave it in the paste form, because then it's one less step that I have to mess with. And the flies love it, so that's why I keep the lid on that. So this is, all right, so it shifted a little bit after when I moved it. We did have this nice film on top of everything. And it gets this nice metallic sheen. So unfortunately, when I moved the bucket, the sheen went away, but you can see the color. So, and
Hey.
How you doing?
Good.
good morning.
Good morning.
So, I got from the last harvest, no, we'll see. I'm just going to put this in here for right now. Well, let's see, actually I'll put it over here. Well, I'll do that because then I can get any liquid off of it. Yeah, it really stinks.
Looks like it's already turning blue.
Well, it's already kind of a teal color.
Oh yeah, with the water dripping off, you can see that the teal color.
Yep. Well, and I'll step back so you can see. So, if y'all want to see what the color looks like there with the, so it's kind of a teal blue.
As it was draining, you could see
Yeah.
it was like, because the sun would come through it.
Yeah.
It's hard to see the color in the bucket.
And it's, you get real possessive of the pigment, when it's like, oh, I don't want to waste any of it, so, and now that I've found out I can, let's see, I don't know, the stems aren't all that long, so I don't know if I'm going to try to do that or not. Now, I need to strain.
Wow, you can see the color really nice.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
It's going to get better.
So are we going to end up with a paste by the end of the demonstration?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I kind of wondered about that too. It has to dry.
So what happens now? So, all right. So what's going to happen is that now I need to aerate this,
Oh, yeah.
and so I'm going to pour this back and forth. I've still got some plant material in there. Okay, so I think that's got all the plant material. And so I'm going to aerate this a little bit, back and forth. And the color is going to start to change. just enough to cover the leaves, and then, you know, a couple of inches because it expands. You can see it's already starting to get darker.
It's like sea foam.
Yep. Any more liquid than this, and people use like paddle mixers or things like attached to a motor to aerate it, because if you can't, you know, this is as much liquid as I can deal with doing this. So now I'm going to check my pH.
Woo! So what was your pH then?
Oh,
Oops. Yeah, sorry about the interruption.
that's all right. It was,
Your phone.
yeah. So we're down to, we're approaching 8.
Okay.
So we're down to 7.9,
Oh, okay.
7.8. No?
And what were you wanting it to be for the
Well, I'm
product?
gonna raise. I'm gonna actually getting ready to raise it.
So make
So
it
I'm
more
gonna make it more like 10. And that's with the lime. I don't want that much.
Have to go to the gym today. It already looks darker.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's still exciting. It's dark.
Can you smell it?
Not yet.
Wow.
Isn't that amazing?
So something in it reacting with the air.
So the all the people on my forum know all the names for the
Processes.
all the different, you know, stages and the names for the pigment, indigotten and there's all sorts of stuff. But
All the in-betweens.
yeah, all the in-between stages.
See, I like that color now. Would you always go as dark as you can get it?
Well, I just try to aerate it as, yeah, I like it dark. So I usually count how many times I do this. I usually do like 15 or 20 times.
Look into your workout.
Yeah. The other thing is that I don't think I think the leaves that I cut this time maybe I could have left them a little bit longer, so I don't think the pigment's going to be as dark. Okay.
Left them a little longer to grow, or
Yeah,
in
leave them a little.
fermentation?
Yeah, I think that because like these here, they started to take off here just in the last couple of weeks, and the ones over in my plot, I did the last cutting really only a couple of weeks ago.
Mhm.
So, well, interesting. I might add, it's 8.5, but I might add just a little bit more lime. I don't know. 8.6.
What do you want it to end up?
Well, see, at home, because my water is so much more alkaline,
Mm-hmm.
I usually try to get it to about 10. But then the thing, what the lime is doing is, so the lime is going to attach to the pigment, and it's going to help it precipitate to the bottom.
Okay.
So it's going to make the pigment heavier. And and then what will happen is after a couple of days, so we'll leave this, and then the pigment settles to the bottom, and then you start straining decanting the liquid off. And so the liquid will turn, when it's ready to start siphoning off is when it gets kind of a tea colored, so it's sort of like a thickly brown kind of color, and then you start siphoning that off and then just working your way down to the bottom, and then when it gets to the very bottom, then you strain the liquid. I've got silk screen mesh. I've got I do like 6 layers of silk screen mesh, and then I strain it through that, and then that leaves the paste on the mesh, yeah, on the silk screen mesh.
So you put the leaves in the water and left them how long? Just
2 days.
2 days?
2 days. And that really depends on climate and temperature, and a lot of it has to do with the climate.
So many variables.
Yeah, there's a lot of variables here, and I mean, if we'd had a couple of really, really hot days, probably could have been, 24 hours. But because, I just, mine at home, I've been letting it go for like 48, and it can over ferment, so you don't want it to, and it can, it can go south, real easy, so it's you need to be careful not to over ferment, because then you lose the whole batch. So this is, I'm gonna add just a little bit more lime, just to make sure, and not worry about trying to get the pH up so much, but just to have enough lime in there so that the pigment will grab hold of it. And so it'll take it takes a while for it to, this will be at least another week for this to settle out and get down to the paste. Oh, I love that color. Wow. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
And I can imagine different varieties give you slightly different results.
Yep, different varieties, the intensity of the color.
Yep.
The Japanese, that was one of the reasons I wanted to grow the Japanese pigment, was that the color is more intense than the tropical.
Okay.
Or at least the version that I grow, what I grow is Indigo fruticosa. The India has an Indigo tinctoria that is a much darker pigment, and that's like if you buy indigo powder that's what usually is grown. And then there's in Tennessee, there's a company called Stony Creek Colors, and it's a woman who is working with tobacco farmers to try and replace some of their tobacco crops with indigo. And so they're actually getting to be pretty successful, and now they're starting to have impact in the textile industry, where there are people that are starting to use their natural indigo as opposed to the chemical indigo. So, and then, the textile industry is notoriously bad for all of the pollutions and, and waste and everything. So, so that's a big deal. So, and they're growing in Tennessee. How's that for color?
It's so deep.
So we did okay. I think I'm going to put it back in this bucket here because it has a handle.
Yeah.
And call it done.
Where did they all come from?
The flies, isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Okay. So.
Guess you have to do that inside a screen porch or something.
Yeah, that's amazing. This is more flies than I've had.